kwani recording haianzi? Ndio hiyo recording imeanza. Nilikuwa nataka kuhesabu 3 2 1. Ndio hiyo recording imeanza. So karibu kila mtu to Fun Friday. Nimeshinda nikiulizwa hii jina Fun Friday ni fun kweli? Mimi sasa sijui because sidhani, I'm no longer sure kama ni Fun Friday, but we are trying to make it a bit of fun. Fun si funny, fun ni just chill out. It's a tech jobless corner. Thanks to everyone who came up with that name. So tuko tu jobless, tunapiga tu story, wiki imekuaje, nini imekuaje. So leo tumebahatika sana kwa na Frank Tamre. Frank anataka kutuongelesha the climb. So ulikuwa na a way in mind ya kuirun Frank, kama tunaweza fanya the conversational way?
Let's do conversational is always better. Conversational is always better.
Nice. So tukianza na hii conversational Frank, the first time tulipatana Frank, sijui kama unaweza kumbuka.
High school. Acha watu wajue we were in the same high school with this guy by the way. So it's no secret.
When
we used to wear shorts.
Form 1 ilikuwa
yeah. Anyway.
So when tulikuwa tunawea hizo shorts in Form 1 and Form 2, it was compulsory. Wewe msiulize ni high school gani, kwa simshapita high school.
Wataka bas, angalia tu snoopers have already fucked out. St. Barnabas.
Shule yetu iko na jina mbili. 2 names.
Who else was in
hakuna anything in pre-qualify ama post-qualify, just 2 names. Okay, so tulikuwa huko tunavaa shorts. Ilikuwa baridi kwetu those days and we had a lot of fun, I guess. Ulikuwa for why? Ulikuwa why? Unaweza tuanzia mahali hapa high school kulikuwa aje ukipanda, whichever the structure you want in mind.
So let me just say high school was okay, so I think watu wamepitia Maseno wanaweza agree to one thing. It's true, we are the only ones who wore shorts, disciplined human beings. One thing that was for sure, I think during that time, hiyo high school sigwana za agree na mimi nikisema if you can survive Maseno school for 4 years, you can survive anywhere. Because tulipitia everything such a way that I think it prepared me for even afterwards. And so let's say high school ikaisha 2 years back at home. So just before ni join Campo. So hizo 2 years. Oh, by the interesting fact, so I'd met someone in Form 3. Siku meet kwa outing nilimit holiday. I think tukaendelea after Form 4 tukingoja results akaniacha. Heartbreak that was the major heartbreak ya kwanza. So it can happen, joined campus. So after join campus, I didn't start coding by the way. So Juma Alan, Miska wewe, I didn't start coding at that time. So I guess I joined Campo nilikuwa nimeitwa kufanya architecture that time, and then tuka change kuingia Nairobi uni kufanya just to be Nairobi, I think. So we switched it to be Nairobi. I felt bad, but I guess where I am now, kila kitu ili work out for good.
Frank, wait. Nyinyi unakumbuka tukichagua subjects tukisema ati mimi sitaki kwenda Maseno University? Ati hiyo ni ocha sana.
Yes. Me too, but
anything except Maseno.
Yes. We had a rule too. Ilikuwa tutaki kurudi hapo. Then I think so campus I guess kuingia campus kaitwa kufanya Bachelor of Arts, Economics, Political Science, French. That's when I think ukishazoea lifestyle ya Maseno school ya vitu kwa back to back. Oh, by the way, we used to stay for 2 years. 2 years before we joined campus. So pia ningoja 2 years. My dad was like, utangoja hizo 2 years. There's nothing like we're gonna accelerate you or anything like that. So I guess after hapo nikaingia Campo. So campus was pretty much interesting. So just before we joined campus, our house burnt down with everything. So what I was left with was what I was wearing. But I remember a couple of weeks before, my cousin alikuwa anaenda States. So when he was going to the States, he had said that I come and take his clothes, but then I didn't take his clothes. The difference between him and we have a difference in the size of our bodies. So he's bigger than myself. So house burnt down, so I had to go and take those clothes. I was told to go and take them, so I went and took them. So you can imagine, I joined campus, and we were like I have oversized clothes. Every guy will tell you, by the ladies, guys will tell you that you can't talk to any lady if you yourself feel like you don't feel confident about yourself, anything like that. So I think for me, nilingia campus na nika decide one thing. Me and ladies, we are out. I'm here to read. Besides, who's gonna be interested in a guy who doesn't even have clothes that fit him? So yeah, and then my dad was a very stubborn person, or he's a very stubborn person. So ikabaki ni hivyo. It's like I had to wear what was available to me at that time. Joined campus, and then I guess in campus my cycle was library. I was in UN by the Nairobi University, so I was in main campus. So nilikuwa na shuttle between campus, swimming pool, dorm. But first year nilikuwa between dorm, classroom, library, na nilikuwa nafanya CPA bado. I was in CPA section 3, I think, at that time. So yeah, so that happened. Chap. Fast forward is second year, and then I guess that around about that time nilikuwa niko
hapa kwenye naruka Frank. Umesema ulishindwa ku approach mji ya nguo. Uko sure si ile heartbreak after form 4, after ile miaka 2 yenye tulikuwa tunafanya nyumbani?
Ni interesting. Naona naulizwa maswali hapa. Which year? Okay. Really? Acha nasema zote. So
don't say what I guess tuko how old.
Unajua yangu anaweza Google unapata age. Yangu ana Google unapata age tu. So campus. So kweli ni hivi by the way. Ilikuwa siko sababu. I think partly pia ni after your heartbreak nili feel like manze, me and ladies and me, we are parallel. Hatutai connect manze. Hiyo story iko imeisha hivyo. I was like, relationships are done, yani unajua. So what do people say? I want to work on myself.
Bas.
So yeah. But hata tu tuambie
Alafu hapo kataja ati ulikuwa umefanya CPA. Uliufanya tu just for the sake of it ama juu nakumbuka hizo siku kulikuwa na crazy ya CPA. Everyone was doing everything plus CPA. Kila kitu plus CPA.
Mzazi by the way, ni mzazi ndo alikuwa ameniambia nikafanya. So it was like you go and do CPAs because CPAs make sense for you. Because you're going to do Bachelor of Arts Economics. So CPA is good for you, added advantage. I mean, in hindsight, I agree with what our parents do. They want to try kukuweka in the best possible position. So yeah, that was that. Then kaingia campus. Campus first year nilikuwa serious. Grades zangu zilikuwa fiti, but it was because of CPA nini. And then also sikuwa na distractions za madem. But there was this pretty lady who happened to be my friend. Just a friend. By the way, unajua siku hizi kusema friend. This new generation. You have to define what friends is. So it was just friends. There was no friends with anything. It was just friends. So after your like your take will happen, I guess campus, just that first year, second year, it was like you don't have enough clothes, you have to work with that. And then I think I had only one sweater. My love with jumpers started before I joined tech, by the way. And I loved hoodies, I loved jumpers kabisa. So after, I guess like first year ika breeze by, not much drama. I never followed up on the friendship with this lady. I guess it was like marafiki zako wanakwambia, what are you waiting for? I was like, oh, by the way, I have no chance, she's out of my league. So that happened. So nikikuwa second year or first year nilikuwa naenda CU. So nikaanza kwenda CU. So I was the weird one. We were two guys who were weird in the whole of CU. CU were two of our official clothes. Mimi nilikuwa navaa tu jeans zangu na naenda na kanyuma, because already you've already joined I didn't have a self-esteem issue. The only thing that I used to have, and I think Siku can tell you this one about Maseno School guys, it's like we don't find the need. I don't think most of us don't find the need to like associate with people per se. Unaweza create your own small world no existivo. So mimi nilikuwa naingia hapo because I'm just going here to see what happens here, ikimalizika narudi kulala. And so I never participated in things like eschatology and things like that. Eschatology is where you escort someone, you know. Those conversations lead to something. So and anyone who's never realized those eschatologies is the opportunity for people to have conversations that you see. I know guys are wondering where are the challenges. They are coming. Relax. Tulia. So far the only house burning down, you know, like nitty-gritty stuff. So second year to third year, I guess campus ikaanza haiko ina make sense kwangu, because I think we had a very long holiday and hapo ndo ikakuwa the beginning of the end of me and structured learning. So long holidays were interesting. Si tulistrike by the way, tulistrike vizuri. I never threw a stone, but I participated in encouraging guys. Ndio nilikuwa nimefanya shopping, so watu walikuwa nakuja kama squad, so that I don't lose my shopping. I just joined them and said, "Comrade power." That was a thing in Nairobi University by the way. Achaneni na hizi strikes zenye squeezy UN guys are doing. I think we are the ones who did the last major strike in Nairobi University, where I've seen they tried burning down stuff, but si tulichoma vitu. So after that, I think shout out to Tabitha. Yes, so UN, and then I think around about that time, I think I saw one very interesting thing. Nikikuwa campus. Yeah, Mike anajua strike. Tulichoma vitu mob sana. Campus, we wanted to go to State House, we didn't manage to reach there. But it was fun. So we left. I stayed second year, third year, and so by the time tulikuwa tunarudi third year na fines, nilikuwa naangalia campus na iku make sense, especially there's a guy alikuwa ameenda kufanya internship at Access Kenya, which was an IT firm. So right before just before niongea about your period, nikikuwa campus, there was this lady who was in CU, and so I remember they were saying, who wants to help out in anything? So I was looking at their designs, their IT stuff, and I was like, I think I can do a good job if they teach me. So nikaingia hapo na hivyo ndo nikaanza kulearn. So I got connected to a guy called Desmond. Desmond was in Nairobi, was in Maseno School, which was weird, but he was ahead of me. But hakuwa nakumbuka. So that's the thing that happened. So funny enough is with during that period of time, I had my very first few lessons on Googling. I had my very first few lessons on like concentration and what focus means to you. So here's what happened. So nimeingia campus CU hivi nikaconnectiwa na kuna rafiki yangu akaniambia, niaje Desmond akanilink to dem fulani mwenye alikuwa in charge of like doing the website and stuff. So mi kuangalia hapo akaniambia, Frank, so see you're going to be up for this thing. Sawa. The lady was pretty by the way.
Tuna lose Frank.
So I needed to learn something. Unanisikia?
Yeah, kwa sawa.
Unanisikia ya? Sorry. Nirudie kutoka wapi?
The lady was pretty.
Atirudia kutoka kwa the lady was pretty.
The lady was pretty. So the lady being pretty. The thing was, she was pretty. I'm not going to say what she does currently. You know, the problem with Twitter DCIs are here. Mutaanza kunitafuta everywhere. Alafu muanze kumtroll. Like you're the one who did this. So let's just leave it as the lady was pretty. And since the lady was pretty, it was slightly at this first time we had a session with her, she was taking me through Joomla. When you Joomla, by the way, nilikuwa na mode. Yeah, so Joomla tulikuwa tuna play around na Joomla during that time. So Joomla was fun. Joomla was fun. So she was teaching me how to use Joomla, and so
Frankie, your internet is bad, Frank.
Explaining, I never understood. Yeah. Unanisikia?
Zima torrent. Kuna watu wanasema hebu zima torrent.
Si ati torrent. Iko hapa. Sasa nikafanya Joomla. So as she's showing me how to use Joomla, I guess I got distracted. And so she goes for lunch and then she comes back and tells me, by the way, umeshika vitu zenye nilikwambia ati no, but when she was there I was like, yeah, nimeelewa, so akaenda lunch. Kurudi from lunch, by the way, she's like, huyu naye mbona hujafanya anything? I'm like, I didn't understand anything you're trying to tell me. Because things didn't make sense. So after hapo nikamwambia, by the way, you'll have to explain to me these things. So akanifungulia tu Google, akaniambia ulikuwa na shida wapi? Nikamonyesha. Do you know she searched and just told me exactly what to search for in terms of comments and the like. So nikamonyesha. And so I guess after hapo, that was my first journey on like Googling anything that I wanted to find out and learning a bunch of stuff as that happened. Around about that time also, nika meet a guy called Ken. And so Ken is the one who I would credit for literally teaching me how to like focus on like a specific chunk of time, building up IT skills, especially ActionScript. Tulikuwa tunatumia Adobe Flash ActionScript at that time. And so yeah, so I think nilitoka from Adobe hivyo tukaanza kubuild vitu za web. Then kulikuwa na project tulifanya. I think nilipata ka 40k back then. Mazee was a lot of money. Acha nini na squeeze hiyo si pesa yenye unashtua nao mtu. But 40k back then was a lot of money. It's like, hey, you are like a $1.50 and sijui nini. And so what happened ni tulikuwa watu wakatoka holiday, so nime make 40k like 2 weeks before. So nalipa ma fines na nini, mimi nikalipa fines. So umse anakuja anatuambia amekuwa akifanya job access Kenya for the last 3 months na me make 12 Gs. I was like, that's just a joke. No, sorry, 24k. 8k per month. And I was like, alikuwa na vasuti nini. Mimi nikasema, mimi nivae suti kwenda kufanya job access Kenya 8 to 5. Bado sija account for hizo time ya kutravel na nini. Sitaki. Wacha nikae vile niko. So I guess during that time ndo nikaanza kujiuliza, so nikigraduate, how much money do you make? Did that research nini. I guess I just woke up and just said, you know what, hutanipata. And I guess started looking at life in a very different way of like, instead of ile story yenye suambiwa na our parents, grow up, go to school, finish school, meet some, get a job, meet someone, get married, have kids, after have kids, educate them, then wakishamaliza hapo katikati mnaweza anza kuinvest after mko na watoto. I was like, why not flip it the other way around, whereby I start with having the business first, learn and do all these things since I'm still young and I can survive. There's a saying that mukwa nayo. It's actually, you can derive it from the Bible yenye inasemanga, it is good for a young man to bear his yoke when it's good for a man to bear his yoke when he's still young. And for me it's like, if you're still young by the unaweza fanya anything. Hauna reservations zingine. Ukisota ukikuwa kicked out, I mean, come on, that's life, you can move on. And so I guess during that time it was like evil. But I guess when I was making these decisions, my parents are very harsh, so I didn't know how to tell them nime drop out of school. So mimi nilibaki tu shule. To start with the babies. Do not start with the babies. Anyone who is here, don't. Chaneni na Ruben. Ruben, are you okay? So I guess the thing that happened was during that time, campus and everything, nearly realized there's one thing that hit me during this period, like when I was still in campus and just like attending random classes. I had to attend the French class all through because we were very few. We were like 8 people. So French is the only course that I did till the end. Nikafanya mpaka paper. But the rest I was like, I'm not going. Our French class was weird. They would wait for you. Where's Frank? Frank, where are you? Why are you not coming back to school? By the way, unangojewa. They start classes when you're there. So did that. But then the funny thing was, after campus, I had to go back home. So just before we finished, so we finished in around, I guess, March, April, and then we we graduate in December for Nairobi University, guys. I don't know how it is nowadays, but that was the case that time. So we finished, mi nilipata job before. Nikaanza job, nikarudi back Momba. We did some jobo. It was fun, by the way. Come to think of it. I made a lot of money. I was making money. Then I'll tell you what it was about. Yeah, so the job was interesting. They needed someone who is good in IT, who can also who is patient enough to do like forensics, like you can analyze data from the past and help give predictions. But then I was working with if you guys know Ibrahim's supermarkets, Ibrahim's electronics, Ibrahim anything, Ibrahim with an E, if you've ever heard of it. Yeah. I was supposed to graduate in 2011, Karone. Yeah, so Ibrahim's, the guy, let me just tell you this. I was working with the guy who introduced braids to Kenya. Unaona hizi braids zenye watu wanasonga, especially ladies, yeah? So the guy who introduced it, that's the guy I was working with. So he was going through some certain legal cases, and so he needed someone who can help him organize stuff, search for this information. There was nothing like coding, by the way. Just analyze data, present it to him in a very fashionable manner. But he was really paying me a lot of money. You can imagine someone paying you 2,000 per hour that you're there with him. So, and you work for like 4 hours, 5 hours. So we're making 10 G's every day. It was a lot of money. So, and so I helped out at home, everyone was comfortable. Then I guess during this time, my dad calls me up and is like, wait, your graduation is like next week. How come you're not moved? I was like, oh yeah, I was planning, just to say, you've been caught 10-0. And so I tell him, I'm planning on doing this next week. I'll tell you when I'm traveling. Yeah, tell you when I'm traveling. So the guy looks at me, my dad looks at me, he's like, okay, that's fine. So we talk. So I make the journey. The next day, it's like we've sorted the whole thing out. I'm going. Yeah, I'm going. So my dad looks at me. My life is now on the phase that now I need to start life. So I guess most of the challenges now to talk about, which is going to be relevant with people in tech, is probably something umepitia or hujapitia. And so specifically, the first thing that happened is when I told my dad I'm going back, so I travel. I had my own money, so I went back to Nai. So when I get to Nai, when I call him and tell him, by the way, you know what? I stopped going to uni 2 years ago. Like I was not attending classes technically, so I can't graduate. Hey, my dad lost it, my mom lost it, and I was like, wow, sawa, nimepatikana. But I guess them wanting their kid to turn out well, walinipatia a second opportunity to like make that correction. So I was taken to Strathmore University to do the correction, to be like, yeah, no, you can go to Strath, at least you'll be more reformed, to do my CPAs, and then as I wait for going to finish my undergrad, and then I can connect with when I'm in Strath, I can do, once I have my CPA section 6, I can always go and join their BCom, Bachelor of Commerce classes from second year. I was like, yeah, that's a good plan. I went there. That's when I met tech. That's when I met mobile app development. So just before I could seriously start my section 4, because I stopped section 3, I didn't continue it when I was in campus because things became too much. So section 4, when I was in section 4 now in Strathmore University, it became interesting in that I was robbed. My laptop was robbed. So the laptop that I was using to like write code and stuff, that is what I was using. And so it once it was stolen, and then that was it. And so I chill. I am thinking, I'm like, okay, now what can I do? And so by the way, this robbery was inside the house. Yeah, yes, Sigu? On your side or my side?
Your side.
Okay, wait.
Kutengeneza mic yako bwana.
Ndio hiyo sasa. Haya, so nilikuwa nataka kuambia nini? Yeah, sasa unanisikia Mike? Perfect. Sawa. So nilikuwa nataka kusema hii time ulikuwa robbed na haukuwa na anything. Kuna
Yeah.
msanii alikuwa amekupatia suggestion poa hapa. Ulikuwa unalipiwa fee. So ungetumia pesa ya fee ama ulikuwa ushaikula yote? For 2
No.
years.
No. So the thing is, niliingia, sijui siku hizi how much they charge for uni, but I think mimi niliingia uni, our fee was 8,000 bob and 8,000 bob per year, not per semester, per year. And so I
Plus
paid because I
accommodation.
came through the regular program. Yeah, alafu plus help, niliforsiwa na dad nichukue help. So I was like, I don't like this thing. So actually the funny part was my first help ilikuja 6,500, nilichukua 4,000 bob, nilienda Dan Blair nikafungua accounts za shares. After kufungua accounts za shares nikabuy shares. After kubuy shares nikakuwa niko campus. So sikuli food, but then I was like, I have a lot of money. But then you can imagine 8,000 bob, my dad would pay that at the beginning of the year, and alikuwa na deposit kwa account anatumia tu hiyo nini inaitwa nini hiyo receipt, hiyo bank details peke yake. So that's what used to happen. So hakuna vile ningekuwa na the other bit here that I think is important to mention is, if you look at when I joined Strathmore, he would pay again directly to the account, and so there's no way I could even take that money. So after yangu imeibiwa, after my laptop was stolen, I there are some guys along the way, and this is where now I'll start giving you. So the challenge was, now I didn't have a laptop and I wanted to learn how to code, because I would see adverts of like, oh, mobile programming, mobile boot camps at Strathmore and stuff. So it was interesting how I don't have a laptop. That's when I'm starting to see all those things. So after laptop ibiwe, I bought my first Android device. That was a Samsung Galaxy Mini, black and light green. Anyone who ever used it or anyone who ever saw it, by there, that's the thing. I never bought an Idios, unfortunately. I'd see it from afar, but I owned the Samsung Galaxy Mini. I loved the Samsung Galaxy Mini because it intrigued me with what I could do with an Android device. And hapo ndo challenges ilianza. So remember, my laptop imeibiwa, but I have my Samsung Galaxy Mini. And so I start thinking about, how can I make my phone do the same thing that is being done on my laptop? And so I was like, the problem with me is that I've never learned how to give excuses. It's like, if something needs to be done, it needs to be done. If you need to die while doing it, oh well, that's your time. You just die doing it. Giving excuses is just, it's an excuse. Oh, I didn't have money. Oh, I didn't learn how to code because I didn't have a laptop. It's just another excuse. And the excuses can be legitimate or fake ones. So you are the one who has to choose. So I guess during this time, it was like I had to learn how to code. So there's like, okay, fine. How can I spend my time? Evo. So I opted not to do day classes, to do evening classes. And so during the day, ninge jump from one lab to another, do some design work, do a bit of coding EV. And so I think that was the thing that was happening. And so I made friends. One thing with me is, most people have never known, I just prefer my own space. Like, I love being internally, that's me. That's my happiness zone, is me being alone. But that is not to say I don't enjoy other people's company. I would enjoy other people's company, yeah, but then it gets tiring at some point, and then I have to like default it. So one thing I think I knew how to do was to relate with people. And so I talked nicely with people. I never used to pay them for the lab times. I would use the lab. They would even give me like a substitution and tell me, by the way, you know what, you can use the lab as I'm going for lunch. So everyone can be chased away, but you're invited in. And so I'd use an iMac, a desktop. I had a dedicated desk, and that was during that time. Then there was this call for this mobile bootcamp. So you go for this mobile bootcamp, they're teaching people how to write Android code, but it's supposed to last 2 weeks. But one whole week tumekuwa tukifanya installations za Eclipse. I was like, what? And then the next week, mnafundishwa, so this is how you build Hello World. And so we built a Hello World, and then that was it. I was like, wait, what? This was a scam. And we paid money. My dad had refused me to pay. By then, that was the thing. They were charging us 10 Gs. I wanted to be in that class, but the thing was, I couldn't afford the money. So that was the first thing. So what I did was, I went and talked to who was organizing the program, some teacher, I forget his name. And then I told him, the money is delaying, but I'm going to pay. And then I went for the class. And then in the class, the first day, second day, I expected so many Strathmore guys to show up. by the way, there were like very few guys. We were like a total of 4. And I was like, what's wrong with these guys? This is an opportunity. None is gonna get an opportunity like this one. And so, but then there was no learning that was literally happening during that 2 weeks. So we did just a Hello World. And I was like, okay. Then they gave us all these resources. Oh my God, there are like so many resources, like GBs and GBs of like videos to look at. And I was like, oh, okay, fine. Yeah. So I ended up like reading it and stuff. So when I went to tell the guy, he accepted. Do you know when I was paying him? I was paying that money the last day, just before we finished, the last day of the 2 weeks. That's when I gave him the 10,000 bob. Then the guys who are teaching noticed this guy is passionate about this mobile thing out of everyone in this class. So one of them just tells me, by the way, you know what? There's this opportunity, MLab, World Bank, MLab, Immobilis, I don't know, they've come together. They have this scholarship that World Bank is giving out. Are you interested in it? I'm like, sure. And so they tell me like, you have to, but it's going to be next year. So I have to wait for like, I think 4 months before it. And so I'm looking forward to this thing. I'm like, I'm psyched up. I've written down in my notes, reminders and the like. And so meanwhile, mi naenda tu strat tu fanya CPA yangu. So CPA iko about to happen. This scholarship lands. This scholarship, me, I just went. The scholarship was to teach us mobile entrepreneurship. So how to do an app, but then like how to build a business around apps. And so I attend the class. And the first thing that we go to the class is that one is... Unanisikia?
Yeah, yes.
Okay. Yeah. So the first thing we had to do when we got into class was we had to pay money. I remember going to, so one of the things is I have to say is like, people might see me and Sheila joke a lot. Sheila, I forget the other lady, but then Sheila was the person who was in charge of that space. So everyone who was at MLab at that time, I mean, these are guys of like Paul Bomet, Lincoln, there's like a very huge group of guys. They were at MLab. And then up at iHub, you had Kina Nekesa and the like. And so what happened is me going to MLab and me being accepted into this scholarship is that they were afraid that you can't give someone a scholarship unless they are able to pay money. How do you ensure that they're committed there? And so what happened is waliniambia, you have to pay an upfront of 10K that you're going to refund to you at the end. Remember, my dad at this time now, he started being fishy. He's like, mazee pesa yenye nafaa kutumia per month, no money is being sent per month. So you have to hustle and just survive. For me, it was provided, I have always had this theory of that, provided I have a roof over my head and ninaweza survive na niko na maji and a heater, I can always boil water, mix it with, usiwahi kosa shuge na nini, hata si shuge, tea leaves, unaweza kunywa hiyo maji.
Yeah, tea bag. Perfect.
Tea bag.
Tea leaves, yes.
Tea leaves, yeah. By then you can survive. And here's a trick. Here's a trick for anyone who is in this call and probably wondering, but you know I always go hungry. I'm about to tell you the hunger phase. The hunger phase had not started at that time. So after, I'm about to tell you why. So always have tea bags, and I'll come back to this tea bag story. So when I couldn't get the 10K, and so I tell my dad, I'm like, Dad, by the way, there's this opportunity, World Bank, Google. So I have to mention the big names so that he can give me the money. So he's like, are you sure you're gonna get a job after this? I'm like, yeah, I'm gonna get a job. I'm not telling him it's entrepreneurship. It's like, I'm gonna get a job. There's World Bank, Google is there with Android, mobile is new, blah blah blah. Hey, my dad is like, star. Akakunywa hiyo joke. So he sends me 5Gs. He's like, the other 5Gs he doesn't have. So I'm like, but I know you have the 5Gs. He's just like being hard on me. So what I did was, he sent me money for rent. I took the money for rent. Actually, he didn't send me the 5K. Yeah, I took the money for rent, is the 5K. I went to Kina Sheila and I told Sheila, I want to be in this program 100%, but I only have this 5K. I'm going to pay the rest of the money when I'm in this program. My plan was, akinitumia the second rent, ninalipa hapa hivi, but nitamwambia niko about kuwa kicked out. So I'd use my mom and my dad like that. So they were not together. So the funny thing that happened was nikapewa pesa, nikalipa 5K. Kina Sheila wakaniambia sawa, ingia class. We like the way you're psyched up about this. Sawa. So naingia class, tunajiintroduce day 1. We were 24 guys. Out of the 24, I was the only one who had not done com science. There's another guy who had not done also who done actuarial, but was actuarial with IT in Maseno. And so it was very interesting in that I determined to be the best in that class. like no matter what utakuwa measured at some point in future, I have to be the best, and I don't care about it. So remember, I'm going to this place. Laptop was out of the story. My dad was like, yeah, I'm gonna buy, but like I knew him, he's not gonna buy it. And that was like a story of to be forgotten. So luckily MLab had desktops. I personalized the desktop. Lincoln can tell you where that desktop was located. Paul Bomet can tell you where that desktop was located. So I would sit down there. And so for me, it was survival. And now during this time is when I met an amazing lady. By the way, she's really amazing. So I met her, and here's the funny part. I was dating her, but I didn't have money. Guys, let no one lie to you. You can never date when you're broke. Okay, maybe you can, but let me tell you why. So now I am starting to get into the world of tech, into the thick and thin of tech now. And it was very funny in that it was hilarious. It was hilarious when I looked at it at the end. She was really amazing and everything. We'd met in church and all that stuff. But then the problem was I guess my love for tech was more than the love I had for her. That is just the truth. So if there was no tech, this is very hilarious comment. But like I was focused on this tech stuff because I was like, I loved it and I knew how this was going to change my life. And so I was like, I'm going to learn this. And I really did not care about losing her or I don't know, whatever. But remember, you're in a relationship with her. And so I'd go for days. So there are days that you go for like 2-3 days, you've not talked to her. And so you see her missed calls. Meanwhile, umetumia please call me zako to your dad. We used to have please call me. Nowadays, guys can use them unlimitedly. Yetu zilikuanga 5 please call me in a day. And so you have to wait for the next day to use the next set of like please call me. And so I'd send please call me to my dad, my mom, and they'd call me back. I'm like, yeah, by then I'm still asking for money. Please send me money. And so you're dating this lady, and so you have to balance between lazima nikule food, I have to eat food, and I have to also use it as transport from where I'm staying to I was staying at High Rise. So from High Rise, you walk up to through Mbagathi Way, and then you get to the roundabout at Kenyatta, or you can pass through Ngumo, and then you walk upwards to MLab. So the first days I used to use a mat. Then at some point I just said to walk. I knew how long exactly it took. It was a 1-hour walk. I'd be from my room to MLab was 1-hour walk. For me, it was 1 hour. I walk for 1 hour and I'm at MLab. 1 hour to 1 hour fro. Those are 2 hours. And so I'd use that route all the time. I knew it like the back of my hand. And so I'd walk. And so, and so I enjoyed I enjoyed walking because then during the walks I'd think. And so during this time, I was talking about the tea bags and the tea. I told you guys I'm going to come back to that. And so here's what happened. I don't have money. Like priority for me was pay rent. Then the rest will follow. And so anyone who's gone to iHub, there are all these events that happen at iHub, and there are all this like free food. And all this free food, here's the funny part. I never used to go for them because I was never wired to be a beggar. So even if I didn't have money, I didn't know how to ask someone for money for rent or food, especially food. For me, it used to be so weird. Like, why would you ask money for food? It means that you did not work hard enough during that month to get that money. So if you did not work, don't eat. And it was like a fair game for me. By then, Ilikonda, I grew so thin. I lost my weight. I lost so much. So it was hilarious in that I learned a lot about myself during this time. So I was walking, I'd walk to work from to fro, like that, until cases that happened. So there was a time, July was very cold. And so when it was very cold, I made friends with James Orengo, which is interesting. James and I think Ophea at that time, and they'd allow me access to use iHub for like 24 hours. But I was very honest. For me, it was if you give me your trust, and I think I've always had that. If you give me your trust, I revert back because I don't want to disappoint it. Because I think having grown up with people when you're not disappoint, especially with your trust, it's like I have to be careful enough to tell them, hey, you know what, by the way, I understand where you're coming from and you're giving me your trust, so I have to give you back. I have to, because you've entrusted me with this trust of yours and you're like that, let me be faithful to your trust. And so I'd really not mess up when I was at IHAB, because I knew if I mess up, then I'm losing an opportunity that has been given to me. And so when I was there, I guess food was now a problem. So then you have the space, you have a laptop, but then you don't have food. So what was I doing? Whenever there's an event, the way kuna kwanga na mafuta. I was actually a beggar by the way. I'm not lying. I ate free food during that time. And I remember James Orengo used to come and get me. I think he figured out that this guy, and I'll always have time for him, I think, till I die, James Orengo specifically. And he'll also have time for me. So thing is, he realized that this guy is always here. He never goes for lunch or anything. So even when you're in the class, guys would say, let's go for lunch together. And I'd be, now join. I'd not tell them I don't have money. And now join. I was very jovial. The thing with me is that I didn't know how to be sad about my situation. I feel pity for myself. I'd feel pity for someone else. And so I'd tell them like, hey guys, I'm going to join you guys. I'm going to join you guys up before. And so joining them meant, nitatoka nao nikaambe natoka, naingia loo, siawa nashuka stairs, then natoka loo, narudi back to class. Alafu naambia, wakirudi waniambia, mbona huku to join? I'm like, oh, by the way, you know what? I didn't even have appetite. The aim was so that they don't feel weird. And I don't make them uncomfortable by telling them I don't have money all the time. Because again, I do want to be this guy who's like a beggar all the time. But whenever there was free food that I have, I would eat. And I'd go for like the fat bit of it. Maze place kuna mafuta na kula. Because anyone who did biology would tell you that the body knows how to deal and store a lot of carbohydrates as fat. And then later on, you can always use that and like it can burn up that fat. And you can survive with water only, essentially. And that's what I was coming back to this thing of like water, tea bags was enough for me. And whenever that was not there, just drink the water that was there at IHAB or back in the house. That was it. And like unalala unamka asubuhi unaendelea mbele na maisha, you don't die. You can survive without food but not without water.
Frank, nimepotea kidogo.
Yes.
Hii time uko strat, si ndio?
Yes. No. Strat imeisha, but a scholarship nimeenda MLab. So now my dad is now angry by the fact that now I'm stopping all the things to do with Strathmore. Now nimeanza kujoin this mobile. Yeah, Strat nearly drop out.
And so tuko na bahati ulimaliza Maseno.
Niko na bahati nilimaliza Maseno.
So umedrop UON, umedrop Strat. So sasa hizi uko MLab. MLab si ilikuwa nini? Hapo Bishop Magwa hapo IHAB.
Yes. And so they are doing a mobile entrepreneurship thing. And so and so all these hackathons, either nitakuwa part of it, not part of it, but mostly was how do I survive? For me, it was not luxury or anything. During this phase, I'll tell you the truth. And this is around 2012. It was how do I survive? That was literally, for me, it was how do I survive? And so my survival was nita survive whichever way. 2013 rather, sorry. Yeah, 2013. So 2013, survival, there was an opportunity, pivotist. My first real encounter with pitching in a public environment. And so nika submit app yangu, tukapatana na msee. It didn't work out anyway, but then we got to the finals, tukaenda Uganda. Manze nilikuwa na travel nenda UG for the first time. Na stampiwa, temporary passport, I'm excited. Tukastay kwa hoteli. And I kept on telling myself, I'd really want this life. It was a very nice hotel, by the way. And I don't remember the name, but I know where it was located. It was close to Sheraton, I think so. Yeah, Sheraton, Uganda. So so then I think after that, so I come back. So one of the things I think I need to highlight, I'm trying to like summarize also, is around during this time when I was going to Bishop Magwa and the like to do this MLab stuff. So as I was dating her, this lady, the thing that happened that was very interesting to point out, and this is where now maybe it's like one of the challenges. I think there's a time I'd gone for, I remember this time because I'd spent around I think 8 days, and I think these 8 days are not like 7-ish days or 8 days are not eaten. And so since you're going with her in the same church, you're not seen for some time. Nilikuwa na bounce pia. And then I remember there's a time nilikuwa na 10 bob, niliokota 10 bob or something. So your 10 bob, I had to make a decision between ni buy mboga, ni boil, ni fry, ni kule, ni lale, ama ni buy bamba 10, ni mcall. Nilikana hiyo 10 bob for like 3 days. I did not make a decision. And so when she'd call, it would bounce. Then I try and call her back. And so it bounces off like that. So I don't get her. Remember, please call me 05. So I can't be there. And so once that happened, I did that over and over. And so that didn't happen. So after these 8 days, I meet her in church on a Sunday. And it's interesting how she's complaining. And I think this is where sometimes we need to be more passionate. And so I look at her and I tell her, she complained. I told her, hey, can you go for a walk? And so we walk. And so she's complaining. I'm like, okay, have you complained everything? She's like, yeah. And then she asked me, okay, so what's the problem? And so I told her, look, to be honest, I feel like I should tell you this. And so I told her, I really don't have money to talk to you. She's like, no, that's not an excuse, blah, blah, blah. And then she tells me, so I told her, I really don't have money. Like, as I'm looking at you right now, the last time I ate a proper meal is 8 days ago. This lady looked at me, kept quiet, and she just hugged me, cried, and then she took me to town. So she was working. She did music and stuff. So she had all these like chums. And so she took me for shopping. Did shopping for my house, food for like I don't know how many months, man. And then that was it. And then I think after that she kept on checking on me, like, hey, have you eaten? Are you good? She'd send a text. She'd send me airtime and stuff. And I think I really, really thank God for putting her that moment. It wasn't a lot also, because at some point I also became like, I don't want her to be sending me these things. I mean, the help was there, but I didn't want it to be there. Yeah, they're there, by the way. Even till date, Sigu, I'll tell you, there are girls, there are ladies like that out here. There are very loyal ladies who would actually help you out. I think the problem also, we've complained about the ladies so much. Maybe now we also need to look at ourselves, like, are we also worthy to receive such kind of treatment? So,
uko na nguo bagi hujamaliza shule, uko na 10 bob, lakini yuko tu.
Yeah.
Sasa nikuulize,
Yeah.
hii nini? Ushaenda UG, mlikuwa mmeenda kupitch app ingine, si ndio?
Yeah, it was called Schoolbox. It was an app for connecting university students. Ilikuwa imepeak, by the way. Ilikuwa na, I think, first 1 month we were hitting 800 unique was 800. 450-ish was return, and by return it meant they would log in and do something every single day for a period of a month. Yeah.
Then kukaendaje hapo sasa?
So we failed because I think we had not yet made, hatukuwa tumeweza kutengeza revenue. And so a quick tip is, if you're ever going for this pitching competition, sometimes it's better if you have a valid business model that you've already started making money. People look at it and see, okay, we can invest money in this one. And so that's how we actually lost in our category. Yeah.
Okay,
so
awesome.
Yeah. So nikirudi, kumbuka nimerudi, my hope was resting on this thing. We were supposed to be given $10,000. So I was like, they give us $10,000, by the way, I'm gonna be the next Facebook. And so the next Facebook didn't happen. So I have to go back home and stay in the house. This is not in Mombasa. I was like, I'm never going back home. The one thing I made a promise for myself when I left home after now not graduating was this: I am never going back home until I'm successful. Like, successful is I can pay for my own fare. At least I can take shopping back to my dad and mom. They are not together, they are separated. And so I was like, until I'm able to like afford the shopping, I am not going back home. And so I deliberately decided not to do that. Like, I was like, I'm not going home until I succeed. And so that was it. Me and home, I never saw home for like, I think 3 years or 4 years until I went back. So 2013, all this drama is happening. I join, so I go back. After Kampala, I went back home. I was really stressed. I was really, really stressed. I was really pissed off because I think I felt like my co-founder didn't do enough. And so I went back and that was it. So then I remember going back home was very interesting because staying in the house, I mean. So you're in the house, you don't have a laptop, so your access to MLab has technically died. And so I had to quickly figure out, how do I, with programming, if I don't continue practicing, I'm going to forget everything that I've learned. So I was like, okay, I'm going to challenge myself. So I managed to talk to these guys. I still had a good relationship with them. And I pushed myself to go back there, learn a bunch of stuff, learn coding, like that, you know, and then the things built up from there. So I remember one of the things that I think I started experiencing during this time was now the next phase. So now during this time, I think the lady that I was going out with, okay, so fun fact is she had this change of heart all of a sudden. I don't know why, but when now the next year started happening, she started rethinking. It was not mostly about the finances, that I'll tell you for sure, because I was so sure about it. It was a thing with, I don't know, our age and stuff. It's a very funny thing in that since nimekuja hapa Fun Friday na watu wanaambiwanga ati you have to be open. That's what Chendereta told me. So I was dating someone who was older than me. And the reason why I was dating someone older than me, 2 years older than me, was because I felt like I had never met anyone who was mature. Watu walikuwa tu immature. And I was like, I have no time to deal with immature girls. That's what I'd call them. And so by the time I think I met her, we were like friends for a while. And so we had not seen the age thing until the day that now you're asking us, wait, how old are you, by the way? And then you're like, wait, what? How are you like 2 years older than me? Haikuwa sponsee. Please behave yourself.
Who is sponsee?
No. I don't think it was that way, but because she was really small, by the way, like body size and everything. Not like small. Like she didn't have even her face. She didn't have an old person's face or anything. Like she was very young. Like you look at her, you think, my age mate. Mostly. But anyway, for me, I think it was mostly dating. For me was like, it's just another number thing. It's like, it's a person. I don't care about whatever thing, provided we are compatible. I'm good with that. Doesn't matter about your race, your age, your tribe, your country, doesn't matter. So I think she had a change of heart because she felt like we were not, she started questioning, like, what will people think about her age? Now you want to be serious, marriage and the like, because then there was something that started happening during this time. So I go back and I chill. I got an opportunity. So Intel was doing all these boot camps. And so they did these boot camps. The Intel Student Partner Program had not yet been born yet. And so Intel is doing boot camps. I attend one of the boot camps. I attend, and then I do they needed to submit apps. I submitted 2 apps. The engineer back then, his name was Frederick. He really loved the things that I'd done, and so he recommended and asked me, hey, would you want to help people? And so how the help came was very interesting. IHAB was doing outreaches. Ndiga was going to go to different places. So I think there's a time we went to Kabarak Uni, and then there's another time we went to the one on your way to Rongai. It's not Masinde Muliro. It is
multimedia.
Yes. Yeah. Yes, multimedia. Yes. So I'm going to Getty, I think you have to ask your question clearly because I've not gotten it clearly.
No, anauliza Alela amekuwa na comments zingine hapa funny anauliza Alela, kwani hapa ni Tinder? Ati ameshinda kitisha hook up.
Okay.
Alafu tuko na 10 minutes hivi, 9 minutes actually. Haina shida.
Yeah. I think I was prepped for till 6:30 or something, but let me try and conclude this. So multimedia, there's a talk that's happening, and so I do my talk, and so I'm ready to go by lunchtime. So Intel is coming to do an event in the afternoon, but Fred has just flown in. Fred is tired, and Fred is like, who can help me out? Akaniona, akaniambia ni aje unaweza ni help. So mimi nikadhani nikupanga vitu, nikapanga vitu, nikachill. Akaanza kuongea katikati, ananiambia unajua hizo vitu ati hebu endelea kufanya. So naongea na ako nyuma kwa call with his bosses, and I'm just giving my session. So he told me, we stay behind, nitaku drop off at IHAB. And I was like, sure, cool, haina shida. So tulivyomaliza session, tuna drive from multimedia to IHAB. The people who've known that road, there's another route that you can follow with Ngong, and then you come down on Ngong Road. And so that route, I think it was like a 1.5 hour ride. And inside his car, he kept on asking me questions about Android, my life, what I think about the ecosystem, how would I build an app, how do I add C++ support, how would I do blah blah blah, some stuff to do with Intel stuff, what do I know about Intel. So we're just having like a casual conversation. So when you're getting into the basement parking at IHAB, so when he parked the car, he anavuta hiyo nini alafu ananiambia, congratulations, you just passed your interview. And I was like, wait, what? I passed what interview? What the hell are you talking about? And so he's like, you passed your interview to join Intel. So if you're interested, the job is yours. You only need to say no to it. And so I was like, wait, what? There was like an interview, wait, to join Intel, like Intel. It's like, yeah. And I guess that's how I joined Intel, and that's how I started, first of all, like traveling and moving around, and just like living my life generally like that. And so
getting rich.
well, technically yes. I have had blips, by the way. Even after that, I think I left Intel, started Moringa School. Moringa School was like drama and a half. We probably need to set
hapa kwenye narakisha hapa pia bado tunataka. Intel, alafu sasa tuendelee.
Yeah, I'll do part 2. Yeah, I'll have to do part 2 about this is like Moringa phase. But I think the first thing is, I think most of the guys who are here probably guys when wanaanza hizo stories programming and the like. The truth is, if it's hunger, I've passed through it. If it's being heartbroken and being dumped, I've passed through it. If it is being rejected because of the way I look like, because of the amount of money I have, I've gone through that. If it's also having fake people because you have a lot of money and then people are like your friends, and then when you sort of like try and test people and just show that you don't have chums and then they run away from you. I mean, I've gone through that. So it's like I've had money, not had money, had money, and then it gets to a point where you're like, you know what, by the way, these things don't move me. Around about this time also, it's good to also mention that even in these challenges that I think I went through, one constant thing for me was people. If you get the right people around you, and you know how to like relate with them in a very rightful way, there's nothing like being taken advantage of. People are out here, they're really willing to help you out. And so I've seen that all through my life. Yani nimekuwa tu ni umsaidia. Another thing I need to give a shout out. Watu wengi tuonanga tuna joke na MK, for instance. MK was doing stuff to do with BlackBerry. And it was interesting how I had all these apps in like Android and others for them like BlackBerry. I tried out the SDK. Things became so hard, and I was like thinking about survival and stuff. But the thing that I loved about it was the fact that he had this very small number of people. I learned something about it also. Wakikuwa iHub, kulikongana .net, leave communities nowadays. Communities in the past, but now you'd know everyone in that group. You know, you'd know this guy has attended my group or not. And so what would happen is we'd sit down with people and we'd have these conversations around like tech and stuff. And so you'd easily bond with people. You'd easily look at people there, they're doing stuff. And so even with Microsoft, John, who is at Google, and also there's I forget his name, Ebichondo Steven. That time they were working at Microsoft, and I think that's how they started giving me these opportunities. So when Intel came over and gave me this full-time job, I told John about it, and John was like, "Hey, why not apply to Microsoft?" And I think Microsoft took a while, so Intel's contract came, and that's how I joined Intel instead of joining Microsoft, for instance, because I already was doing stuff with Microsoft already. So I think for me, I would actually tell you one thing. It's like easy constant zimekuwa kani food is like a very easy thing. If you have a place, if you ask someone, you have friends probably. And I think for me nimeangalia, one of the funny parts about all of this is depending on the phase I was in, I would really focus on that phase. So phase yenye nilikuwa now, the ones that I've talked to is up to now I'm joining Intel. But like during this time, if it was food was like, I don't need to beg, and also I knew like they always have events. So I'll just be on the lookout of an event like this. I'd show up, eat my food, umeenda. And eat a lot so that it stores for the future. So you can eat today and then you skip 4, 5, 10 meals. And so for me, food was never something that would really move me. Same to like even having money, not having money. See, I know I stay close to that place, so I can walk there and come back. So yes.
So vile unaisemlia ukisema story ya food, so basically ulikuwa unakula iHub.
Nilikuwa nakula iHub. I was actually there's a statement someone made in the comments, I think. Said beggars. I was actually one, and I'm not scared of saying it. There's
Mike amekata hiyo story. Amesema they were not beggars, they were just eating.
Yeah, we were eating because we'd not beg. We just come and find the food there, and then I guess just like eat it. So we never. It was not like you beg someone you want to eat. You'd find the food, you'd eat. You attend the event, you eat. And it was as easy as that. There was no complication per se, if you really ask me. Yeah.
All right. Naona comments mingi hapa, watu wanasema ongeza time. So watu inaitwaje? People are writing on the comment section, but yeah, I think tunaweza agree on this, ndio?
Okay.
We can agree that yes, we did more time. But our 1 hour imeisha. So tufanye section 2 next time. Tuanzie hapa tu kwa Intel hapa.
Yeah, no problem.
We need to hear everything. Time iongeza. Si tufanye kwa nyingine. Alela, not today. So tuifanye next time cause I'm pretty sure si fupi. Niko sure si fupi. Frank tumeongea, we know.
Cheki, utatupia mawe hapo. Unajua utatupia mawe.
Wewe si kuongeza time bwana. Ongeza time.
Ongeza time bwana.
Podii, I think let's do second part next week. Yes. As you suggested, alafu pia we create a habit of always keeping time. Na Frank, good to know. Tulikutana ukiwa njaa mbaya sana.
Maze, ni watu wengi. I wish you can mention these stories. Like I feel like if I start talking right now, some people start wondering like, you know, even that guy and that guy and that other guy. Wait, that's a lie. How do you know these people? Because Siku, let me just conclude then as you end. I'm promising like, sir, I'm up for doing the second part from Intel going forward, because I feel like it's so many lessons now when I'm at Intel and going forward. But like this first part of like the formative stages of like, now you're getting into tech, now you're starting to learn stuff. I keep on saying, if you don't have a laptop, there's probably someone with a laptop. The only thing is if you figure out a way ya spend time now, because nilikuwa na learn how to code 2 times or 3 times now. It's like I didn't have a laptop. I feel like if I had a laptop, I'd probably not learn how to code. And that is just the truth, according to what I think. But then unakuwa na huyu. There was no Mac. But I think at some point is when I actually worked at iHub for a month, less than a month, after Intel's offer. 1 month, when Intel was still finalizing on legalities. 1 month at iHub, I had a MacBook. And so if you ever see a photo of me in the past with a yellow, light greenish lime thing, MacBook thing, that was the thing. If you ever hear Microsoft guys joking with me and saying, "I only learned a MacBook," it's because that was the thing that happened. Jessica Colasso gave me the MacBook because we were working with her together. And she was like, no, you have to have a MacBook. Take. And so I used her MacBook. And then the day I left, I had to give it back to her. And so there's like so much that really went on during this time. But the most of it, I think the first part was mostly balancing between not having money or resources and also having money, and then at some point now you are like totally broke. Like, how do you deal with that? Like, you're a broke developer. Yes, you're broke, but the thing is here, no one should actually come and define that state, you know. And so I think for me kwangu ilikuwa very interesting nikiangalia vizuri sana. Yeah. So one thing I'll say is this: if you have a very, you know, because for me I was determined not to fail. I was determined not to give an excuse of like, oh yeah, I didn't have a laptop, that's why I didn't end up being good. Oh yeah, you know, I didn't have this, that's why I didn't end up being this. So for me, I guess that is what used to happen. Yeah.
Frank, nataka kuliwa hapo kwa comment. So what we're going to do, I know the story is too long, and tuendelee from Intel next time tukiendelea, si ndio? So
yes.
Thank you. Up to that point, everyone anasema tumeacha watu tu saa zile, sasa story imeanza kushika. Sorry, we've just run out of time. Tutaendelea. Ati Sigu wewe left, sisi tuache. Sawa, nawaacha. I'm coming right back, but thank you very much for this particular episode. Asanteni sana. So what you're going to do is tunaenda kufungua. So when we open it up for everyone, it's going to be a discussion and questions based on what we talked about. Hadi hapo. So Frank, usipitishe hii story hapa. Tutaendelea
sasa Intel.
Sasa wakuulize vitu za huku nyuma.
Frank, cheza kama wewe.
Look, if you have any questions about Moringa School, Intel, Microsoft stuff, you uliza from next week. Today you can ask all these behind questions, I'll answer.
Yeah, hizo zitakuwa sawa. So I'll stop the recording hapa juu watu wengine feeling comfortable kuuliza vitu zikiwa recorded. So nitaiachia hapa, then we just open it up now.
Naweza na swali?
Yes, ni stop, sindio? So that the chaos can begin.
Ni sawa, ina